It was early in the morning. The sky was dark and the shadows were darker. I awoke to the squabble of active comms. To my dismay, an old voice had crackled through the speakers. Apparently, the aliens had been gracious enough to return Norsrak to us, and Tut was an escort with him. Upon contacting them, they were pleased to serve me up a morning dose of good news. Along their way, they had acquired the necessary medical supplies needed to replenish my blood. Secondly, they informed me our late friend Divine had been resurrected from the dead. How exactly this was possible is not completely clear. However, I personally suspect that he is really a zombie, and due to his particular mental conditions, he manages to maintain control of his body. Well, at least to some extent. The first order of the day was simple. I would make my way up Sniper Hill, where Tut and Norsrak would meet up with me. There, we would perform the transfusion necessary to replenish my blood and restore my eyesight.
Location?
I'm on that hill, Sniper Hill.
Okay, we're coming in from the direction that we came in from last time. Okay, we're up here. Where are you?
I see you. I see two of you. I'm coming out. I'm right here.
Foreground's blazing too. Oh, hey, buddy.
Hi, buddy.
Hey.
All right.
Hey.
Give me that saline bag. Good. You want to keep an eye out?
Sailing bag on the ground.
Hold on. Hold still. Okay. 5 set.
Alright, I got some saline. Alright, cool.
Brock, are you on payday mask?
No, I'm good. I like what I got. It's weird.
Alright,
So weird.
let's get moving.
Got some vitamins?
The reincarnated Divine was currently in transit to Vybor. Our plan was to meet up in the city and set off for the first time as a complete group. As in DayZ Standalone tradition, night quickly snapped to daylight.
Tell me drink from the well, I touch the well, and this is what happens.
Why'd you do that?
Good job. Good job, Tut.
Oh, we all gotta disconnect, huh?
So,
Well,
we backing out.
here's our chance to find a daytime server.
I opened my eyes to the newly lit world, and for the first time, the world was in color.
Man, Brock, you look hella cool.
Don't I? Don't I? I do.
You do. Look at you. Look how cool I look, though.
Dude.
You got a flashlight sticking through your mask.
That's how cool I am.
Dude,
So,
your
Brothgar,
your
how do you
gun
feel
looks-
about color now?
gun looks amazing. Hey, there's actually
You like the
color in the
color?
game.
I know, right?
There's a weird amount of bloom, though. That's kind of... Oh, now it's back.
Oh, once you finally get the color back, oh god, it's beautiful.
There's like actual color in this game. This is the first time I've seen it.
Oh, Brock, I found a pink backpack for you.
No, I don't need no pink backpack.
Yeah, you do.
Oh yeah,
Just a hat
Brothgar, you
and a
realize
pink
that backpack that you thought was red is actually orange, right?
All this time... Yeah, you're right.
All this time, you thought it was red.
You're right, you're right. On our guard, we made our way through town. After clearing out the supermarket, things were finally looking up. We had acquired a decent amount of gear and food. I was now sporting a short-range scope on my trusty Mosin. At this point, the rifle was now looking more like an antenna than a deadly weapon.
What does he have, a musket? Looks like you're like an antenna receiver. You're like dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
Our next stop would be the Northwest Airfield. We sorted our weapons and prepared ourselves to enter the hot zone. Dude, how many mags you got? Jeez.
Well, can't really put them in. I got a bunch. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You are armed, man. Our plan was simple. Using the tree line as cover, we would approach the airfield from the west side. This would put ourselves in the center of the field, giving us a good vantage point of the buildings across the runway. Observing from a covered position, Tut and I spotted movement in the control tower. We kept a keen eye on the survivor, and kept our ears open for possible gunfire. From our observations, there was a group of 2 moving north through the airfield. Throughout the entire event, not once did they notice our presence, and thus, no action on our part was taken. After the threat had passed, Norsrak and Divine moved in, as they were both sporting automatic weapons and had inventory space to spare.
Full sprint. Hey, I'm out in the open. I'm always great for distractions.
There he goes.
Tell me to go do something, I'm like, yeehaw!
We would continue moving north down the airfield, moving from cover to cover. Along the way, there was not much activity. That is, until we reached the military tents at the far northern end. There, significant numbers of zombies populated the encampment. Norsrak and Divine would find themselves in a desperate battle to keep themselves from being eaten alive. and since my radio weapon was so loud that I could not afford to fire a shot in fear that all the zombies in a square mile would come running after us, the only thing I could do was watch and hope that they survived.
Yeah.
And the person I see moving in there, I see 2 people, so that's probably you guys.
Yep.
Yep, we're here already.
Why is there 3?
So.
There's a zombie behind us.
Zombie. Hold on, keep moving, keep moving.
Frickin', oh my god. Frickin', why'd my guy have to stop? Frickin', oh my god.
There's another zombie behind you.
Well, get
Move
him.
it.
Frickin', I got it.
I shot.
I frickin' have to heal myself now. Frickin' crouch, you retard. There we go.
Alright. Shit. Who's shooting?
Me. Trying to deal with these zombies.
Alright, I'm moving up. Switching to my assault. It's gonna get real. It's gonna get real quick.
I see you.
Nope.
Sorry,
Fine.
didn't call my shots. My bad. Ooh!
What'd you find?
Long range scope.
Need that.
Our team had survived the airfield, and in doing so we had come away with a decent amount of loot. Most important to me was the long-range scope. This would push my Mosin into its final form, transforming it into the ultimate radio antenna gun. On the downside, the scope was marked as badly damaged, and thus I had my worries about its accuracy.
We need to know how bad it is. I mean, if it's usable.
Hey, there, it looks intact on the inside.
Okay, so it's gonna work?
Well, I mean, you know, as long as it's accurate, that'll be good to go.
Well, keep your...
Little did I know that this small piece of equipment would soon become a pivotal element in our survival. Our plan was to follow the road north, leading away from the airfield. In doing this, we would soon come across one last building to loot, before we would turn east to explore unmarked areas of the map. It was not long before we came across our first destination.
Good, me and you are gonna go in together. Brothgar, there should be an incline to the right of the compound. You should be able to get set up on there. Good. Let's rock this shit. We'll get to some bushes. We'll wait until you're in position. You can take a look around.
Is that Brothgar up there moving?
There's way too many trees over
Inside?
here. I gotta look from the other windows.
Where? Where do you see people?
I'm not...
Walking, opening up
Did
the
you
fence.
just go into the compound?
No. No, there's a
guy in
person
the
down there.
compound. Good. Let's go.
Yeah.
Quick. Get to the wall.
It looked like Brothgar for a second here because I saw the orange backpack.
Brothgar, find him, keep eyes.
I don't see him. He was moving, I thought he was moving near those
He's on the other
tanks.
side of this wall.
I can see this side of the building. That's all I can see.
So what are you doing right now?
I'm in third person looking over the wall. He's next to a propane tank.
Oh yep, I see him.
Alright, I see
Oh,
him.
you just kind of like walked up and he's sitting there like waiting, like as if he knows we're here.
Probably does.
See that?
I'm gonna see if I can get around. Brothgar, do you have eyes on?
No, I don't. He's on the far side of the tank.
Whoa!
Good.
Whoa! Oh god, I'm getting shot at like crazy. Oh
Where
no!
is he?
I
He's
got him.
behind me. He was behind us, behind the wall. Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus!
He's
Oh
down.
Jesus! I
He's
didn't get hit
down.
at all.
The guy at the
Oh
tank?
my god!
No, he had a buddy outside watching. The guy in the tank is moving. He's moving towards the wall. My side.
That's me.
Okay.
I think it is. I took down the guy towards the, at the propane tank.
Who's moving in through the gate
I'm
right
coming
now?
in behind you. That's
Okay.
me. That's me. I saw a
Okay,
bullet
are
just
we clear?
peg the wall. Oh my god. What else
Holy
is there
crap.
that I can take?
Do we know if there's any potential that there's anyone else?
I haven't seen any signs.
He's
Yeah,
got.
where was the guy that you killed?
Okay, if you follow the road out the direction we came in, he's just off the road in a couple of trees.
Okay.
I've got my
That
eyes
was
on
a
him.
terrible shot.
You know, I haven't seen him move. I shot him 3 times from what I can tell. I see you're moving in on him. Make sure you got your gun up though. Okay, that's him. Is he still alive?
Got blood coming out of him. He
Anything
put
good?
10 rounds in your direction. Because that's all
Oh
he
my
had.
god.
And he missed.
He didn't even hit me.
Holy cow.
He missed all those shots. Like, literally, one was like an inch away from my head. That's how freaking. Oh my god. He's bleeding.
That got intense, didn't it?
Yeah.
With some good planning and a large amount of luck, we had survived our first gunfight. With our cold blood now pumping red hot, we made our turn east and set off into the great unknown. Though we know not what danger lies ahead of us, for now at least, things are looking up. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that like button on the way out and share it with your friends in every way possible, because that is really going to help me out. A lot of effort goes into creating these episodes, and it's an absolutely new thing here to my channel, and I want to do a whole lot more of it. At any rate, if this is the first video you've ever watched of mine, consider hitting that subscribe button, because I do this stuff on a regular basis. So, thanks for watching, have a great day guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace!